Hello YouTube coin collectors and stackers. Today we're going to be looking at a fake gold coin that my local coin dealer sold me yesterday. And this is the coin right here. So let me zoom in. This is an 1868 Princess large head $1 coin. Let's get a look at the reverse there so you can see it. And what's interesting about this coin is I did purchase it knowing it was a fake coin. Now, it's not fake gold. It's real gold. It's just a fake coin. But what makes it fake? So when I went and saw it, my dealer had it in the case and said, copy 1.7. And so I said, well, how do you know it's fake? And she said, well, my husband looked at it and said it was fake. Now, her husband's been in the business for a long time and is more than qualified to be able to point out fakes. So I took it, I got my little jeweler's loupe out and I looked at it and I said, oh yeah, sure is. So what did I see? So before we get into what I saw, let's talk about some ways you can protect yourself from buying fake coins in general, gold or otherwise. And we'll just put this lady down here. The first line of defense you have to protect yourself is knowledge. And if you watch any of my videos, you see my extensive library that continues on that way for a while and that way for a while and up. And I have read most of these books cover to cover over the years. I have a complete set of red books, a complete set of blue books going back to the 40s. I even have a complete set of Numismatics from 1970. So knowledge is power. So the first thing we want to look at when we're considering any coin, in this case, this is a $1 princess coin from 1868, is what are the diagnostics? What are some of the things we should know about this coin? So we're going to look at our trusty red book. Red book should be something everybody has in their library. And let's see what the red book has to say about this. Designer James B. Longacre. Weight is 1.672 grams. The composition is 90% gold, 10% copper. The net weight is 0.4837 ounces of pure gold with a diameter of 13 millimeters and a reeded edge. And these were the mints it was made at. Now, one of the things you notice is this is the Liberty head. And we weren't looking at a Liberty head, we were looking at the Princess large head. So that's on the next page, so give me a moment here. And we'll flip over and we see that, yes, indeed, the design did change in 1854 to the Princess small head type 2, and then again to the Princess large head in 1856, and that ran through the end in 1889. So let's look at here. We don't see anything else to know about it here. It's just some grading. Let's go back and look at this Princess small head, and it says standard, same as previous issue, except the diameter is changed to 15 millimeters. That's important. So with the red book, we can do this for any single coin, whether it's a Morgan dollar, a peace dollar, a seated dime, you name it, all the diagnostics are in there. Our basic tool set to check these things are, if you can't afford a fancy metalytics machine like a Sigma, would be a scale. You might have something called a pocket pinger. I love my pocket pinger. They do not support my channel. I think I saw this on Silver Dragon's channel, but and I ended up buying one. Fantastic tool. Not good for a small coin like this, but awesome for Morgans and quarters and half dollars and those kind of things, and larger dollar coins. A set of calipers and a magnet. So the first thing I like to do when I'm checking coins is, if they're I put them on the pocket pinger and check and see if they're actually the right metal, or if they ring correctly. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this magnet to see if it's magnetic. So let's test the magnet on something that is magnetic, like this screwdriver. Yep. Now let's check it on this coin. Nope. So not magnetic. So that checks one box. So that's good, because a lot of the stuff that we get, like a lot of these fake Morgan dollars, happen to be magnetic. And I also collect counterfeit dollars and counterfeit coins just so I have diagnostics, like some of the ones I'm going to show you. After we go to the magnet test, which this one clearly passed, we're going to weigh it. Does it weigh what it's supposed to? So if we remember, it's 1.67 grams. If I put it on my scale right here, 1.7. I don't have the most accurate scale in the world, so it rounded it up to 1.7, but good enough for me. It's in the ballpark, 1.7 grams. We're going to take that as good enough. The next thing we remember is it said that the diameter changed with the new coins in 1854, and they increased the diameter to 15 millimeters. So we take our calipers here and we go dead on. 15 millimeters. Yep, right on the money. So far, we have a coin that weighs correctly. It's not magnetic. We know it's the correct alloy. And I'll tell you how else I'll know it's the correct alloy is my dealer put this in the metalytics machine, and it confirmed it is 90% gold, 10% copper. It's the exact alloy it should be. So right weight, right alloy, right diameter, not magnetic. So how would we know that this is counterfeit? So let's zoom in a little and get a closer look at the coin itself. So excuse me a moment while I get this. It's a small coin, man. So some of the first things you'll notice on this coin are the Liberty and the band. It is like not there at all. Otherwise, you can see the devices are mushy. Liberty Princess is mushy. The lettering isn't terrible, but as you get closer and put it under magnification, which we will in a minute, you'll see it is terrible as well. And all the dentals that are around them here. Let me get in here with my thing so I can point. Where are we? Up there it is. All these dentals around the edge here are all very mushy. And when I flip it over on the back, we're going to see in particular, and I'm going to zoom in a little more so you can really see it here, is, and this is hard because this coin is so darn small, that you can see it here a little bit, right? So right here, you'll see coming out of the bottom, there are these spikes. So not only are these all mushy on the back, and the point of being almost cartoonish up here, like they disappear completely. All of these devices, the flowers and all this stuff, is all mushy. This is cotton and I believe tobacco and some other things in this wreath. And when we put it under magnification, what you're going to see is the date in particular is crazy mushy. So let's go to magnification and look at some diagnostics. And we're going to start with the reverse because the reverse is really obvious with some of this stuff. So let's come in here and go. Just looking at some of these, the lettering, like the O on dollar, barely there, badly struck. Look at that A, it's terrible. The R. Let's look at the date itself. So let me see if I can get this. Again, this is a small coin, so I appreciate you bearing with me here as I kind of get this stuff lined up over here. Where is the date? Where are you hiding, date? There you are. So I want you to look at the 8 there. Let me see if I can line this up a little better. Again, it's a tiny coin, so it's tough. So you see on the 8 there, particularly right up here, you have all these bumps all around. So what they do with these is when they're making the fake, they made this from a real coin. They took a real coin and they went and made a cast of it. And during the process of doing that, they made a die. And then they go ahead and they polish the die and do these things to try to get it really smooth. But they're not always great at polishing off a lot of the defects in the transfer process here. And you can see them here in the dimpling all over this 8. You can see it on the 6, that big chunk out of the 6. If you look at that under a loop, you'll see that it's the same exact luster as all the surrounding area. So that must have been on the original coin from impact of another coin or whatever was transferred to this coin. If we come down to the dentals here, let's get down here, and let's see if we can see some spikes. There's one right there, big old spike coming out of the dentals. There's some more spikes you see coming out there. Some pretty significant ones you can see. Some of it's metal flow, but some of those are real spikes. You follow the dentals around the edge. They're all very mushy, very ill-defined, and then they're just gone here. Look at that. I mean, that is just really terrible in how poorly this was struck up around this one, you know. And on a real U.S. coin, you're not going to see that kind of mushiness around there very often, if at all. So that is the reverse. The obverse is similar in that we have some real mushiness, particularly around like United States. Let me get over there. Look at the I, and the whole serif is gone on it. That's just terrible. The N, the U. Again, the dentals are better on the obverse, but just really, really mushy, crazy mushy types of devices and legends and things. That S is just awful. And if we compare this to a real coin, this is a 1853, so this is the Liberty Head one, and just give me a moment to just adjust the magnification a little bit because this one's in a flip. So The magnification is a little different on this one. There we go. You start to see already just the detail difference. The dentals themselves being defined all the way around. The fact that you can actually read Liberty on the band there. You don't see any sort of weird spikes or anything around the edges. I apologize. It's in a flip, so it's a little harder to manipulate. Although it's actually easier to manipulate as a small coin. But you just see the general difference in the quality. I mean, that's just kind of a weaker strike, but you can definitely see that we're dealing with a whole different level of detail on this coin. So when we start to get, just to kind of wrap up here, I bought this coin on purpose. I said to my dealer, who again had put it in the Metalytics machine and just, noticed the mushiness, noticed it was a fake, but it was a real alloy, and marked it that way. I said, wow, that is the perfect counterfeit coin for me to show other people and teach them what these things look like in the wild. In fact, I'm going to be in Atlanta doing a talk on mercury dimes at the National Money Show, and I'm going to be bringing this to a class I'm taking on grading and counterfeit detection there, just as an example of what to look for. I think this is a really great coin. So you'd ask yourself, okay, why in the world would somebody go to the trouble of making a real alloy, real 90% gold alloy, fake $1 coin, and try to pass this off? Well, if you think about it, a counterfeiter could take a $20 double eagle, say a jewelry grade $20 double eagle. That would cost probably around, let's say, $2,600, give or take, right, depending on spot prices. And from that, they can melt that down and make 20 of these. Now, this particular coin, this 1868, again, if I go and refer to my good friend the Red Book here, and let's zoom out, let's look at the Red Book. We zoom out a second here. We said it's an 1868. There were only 10,500 of those minted, and in a AU condition, so that's AU 55. That's about a $900 coin, and it gets up to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 pretty fast. I know what some of you are thinking. Don't go by Red Book prices. No, I agree. Red Book is the high end of retail, and even if you look at Gray Sheet, there's people that argue, well, Gray Sheet can be off based on the things that it's doing. But one of the things that I think is realistic about Red Book pricing is that it gives you the ballpark of what you can expect one of these things to sell for. So in this case, if I take a $20 double eagle and I melt it down to make 20 of these, and I can pass them off for $900 each, that's $18,000. That's a pretty good return on my money. And this isn't even a particular rarity. So let's go back to our friend the Red Book again and look at something that might be a little more attractive for somebody to knock off. So hey, how about this, right? So in the VF20 in 1863, which has a mintage of 6,200, in the same condition, AU55 would be around $5,000. Or perhaps this 1861 Dahlonega, $75,000. So that's pretty tempting if you are a counterfeiter to say, okay, well, man, I can buy a lot of junk 90 jewelry grade gold eagles and gold double eagles, and I can melt them down, and every time I melt one of those down, I can get 20 of these guys, and if I put a D on it, and it's a Dahlonega, it's going to get $50,000 or $75,000. But maybe I want to fly under the radar a little bit and make it like this 1868, and I'll try to pass them off instead for, say, $900 each instead of $3,000. Because, of course, at some point it gets suspicious. Even if you sold them for $500 each, you're really doing well with your money, right? So you're still making 10 grand on a 25. You're still 4Xing your money. So that's why they do it. This was the reason why modern counterfeiters do it. In the past, there were other reasons for counterfeiting coins like this. In the 1970s, for example, in Iran, when people were trying to get their money out of Iran, you could bring coins, but you couldn't bring bullion. So there were some enterprising Persian people who set up presses and made U.S. gold coins and did it quite well, these are very excellent counterfeits, was not for the purpose of fooling anybody, since you couldn't use those coins in the United States in the 1970s, say, as currency. But they certainly were able to get around it because you could take coins out, you couldn't take bullion. So people would bring their bullion to these folks with these presses, and they would make a bunch of these. You typically don't see dollar coins like that. You see a lot of like Indian $5 pieces like that, and some of the bigger coins, double eagles. It was more efficient, right? It's more efficient to take that and make a double eagle than 20 of these. So that's what they would do. So you typically don't see these from that time. This was passed off later. It's hard to know when it was made, but it is interesting. So, and again, your red book is your best friend. A library, which I'm going to do a video coming up here shortly on the power of a numismatic library, is also a good friend. Collecting coins like this, so you can have, these are all fake Morgans, you can have some references to see what like a fake double eagle looks like. Here's a fake proof double eagle. And here is this is a comical fake $5 Indian, 1909. And it's about twice as big as it should be, right? I mean, it's the size of an eagle, It says copy on it. But it says $5 is the size of $10. And it's a proof, and it's got all these other problems with it. But having these things is really important, I think, for you to understand how to avoid getting a counterfeit or falling for a counterfeit on your own. And some of them are very good. I'm going to post a link to a video down below where I bought a counterfeit trade dollar and sent that into PCGS and got it back in a body bag. That's an interesting video. So thank you guys again. Please like and subscribe if you find this content helpful or useful. Watch out, keep an eye out for counterfeits out there in the wild. And as always, happy collecting.